Hi all, welcome back to another lecture of DBMS, and in this lecture we will be learning about subqueries in SQL. So let's see, we'll learn about subquery in SQL, then we'll learn how to apply a select statement in subquery, where clause in subquery and from clause in subquery. Then we will also learn about how to apply exist and non-exist functions in subquery, and then we will see along with in and not in operators as well. So this video is going to be interesting as we are going to play with some SQL queries. So stay focused and let's begin with the first topic of the lecture, which is subqueries in SQL. So what are subqueries basically? Subqueries are also known as the inner queries on the nest query or the nested queries. So basically when we are writing any subquery and inside it, like let's suppose we have written select train ID from trains where train ID is equal to 101 or 102, something like that. Okay. So if we are giving value, so we are basically giving values using equal operator. But when we are not sure about what value, and that value also we want to compute, right? So instead of giving the value directly, we will write the query there. That's what we have written here. Select distinct train ID from booking. So we are basically selecting the unique train ID from the bookings table, right? So from the bookings table, if you will select the unique train IDs, so it will be bookings table, right? So this. So 101 is duplicated. So 101 and 103. Okay. So in this will return 101 and 103, right? So according to this query, the first query, we have to select all the train ID from trains table whose train ID exists in this, right? So whose train ID in this. So 101 is this, yes. So you will select 101. Then 102 is in this, no. 103, yes. 103. 104 is there in this, no. So output will be 103 and 101 and 103, right? So this is the output. So that's what the subquery means. So it's a query embedded inside the another SQL. The main query is the outer query is the main query here, and the outer query actually uses the result of the subquery. So this is the inner query, that will be the subquery, and the result of subquery will be used by the outer query. So here the result was 101 and 103, right? So that was used by the main query, that is outer query. So that's what subqueries in SQL means. Now let's learn about subquery. Let's play with subqueries in select statement. So subquery can be used in the select clause to return calculated values or result based on another query. So here you can see like how with the select statement we can create the or we can write the subquery, right? So here we have written select t.trains name. So from trains table we are selecting the train name column. Okay. Now after that, so this will be train name column in the resultant, and second column we want as something which we will call it to total bookings. Okay, total bookings from trains table T. So basically from trains table we are selecting two columns. One column is train name, we have given as it is, and another column we want to create with the total bookings name. But that column will be again the subquery, and that will be with the select statement. So that's what select count of all from bookings table. So we are selecting count of something from bookings table. What we are selecting? Count of all, where count of all means number of rows. Okay, number of rows we want to select where train booking ID and train ID from bookings table and train ID from trains table should be same. So if you will match 101, 101, yes, 101, 101, yes. So for 101, 2 counts are there, right? Similarly for 102, no counts are there. So for 102 which is Shatabdi, no counts are there. 103 Duranto is there, 103 is there, right? So count for Duranto train is 1. Again 104th train ID is not there, so the count will be 0. So for Shatabdi and Southern train, the count will be 0. So that's what subqueries in select statement means. So in the previous query you see, so for the condition we have written that if the train ID is there in that function, in that result of that subquery. But here you can also use select, you can also create subquery in the select statement itself. So when we were selecting the column's name, you can see train name and this column name, we have created a subquery in the select statement itself. So that's what it means, subqueries in select statement. I hope till this much is clear. Now let's move on to another one, which is subqueries in where clause. So we will be using the subqueries when we write the where clause condition. Now let's see how. So you can see this, let's see, yeah, this is a select statement. So we are selecting booking ID, passenger and date. So booking ID, passenger, date from which table? From bookings table. Now basically we are selecting train, where train ID in something. So train ID in what? Again we are writing the condition. What condition we are writing here? So we are writing select train ID from cancellation train. So select train ID from cancellation train, join train T and on the condition where train's name, cancellation train name should be equal to train's train name. So basically, trains, when the train's name will be same, on that condition join it. So Rajdhani same, will join it. Shatabdi same, Rajdhani same, Shatabdi same, and Duranto same. Okay. So these three columns, like these three rows will be selected because their name are same. Okay. So basically for those we are selecting train ID. So we are those selecting train ID. So its result will be what? 101, 2 and 3, right? So this will be 101, 102 and 103. Okay. So this where like this select subquery will give what? 102, 101 and 103. Done. Now what we are and along with that we are also selecting if the cancel date is 1. So cancel date is 1, yes, for this it is there, for this, for Duranto it's not there. So for Duranto 103 table train ID, so 103 will not be selected. So only 101 and 102 will be the output for this case, and then for those we will select booking ID, passenger and date. So booking ID, so 101 and 102 you can see the booking ID will be 201 and 202. Okay, passenger name will be Raj and Gauri and the date will be same. So that's how we do. So in the where clause, you can see in the where clause also where train. So with the where clause we have used the subquery. Okay. So that's what it means, like how inside the where clause also we can apply the subquery thing. Now we will apply subquery in from clause. Okay, so let's see how we can do. So subquery in the from clause allows us to treat the result of a query as a temporary table or a derived table. So if we are writing like if we are applying this subquery in the from clause, so it gives us the it gives us the functionality to treat the result of a query as a temporary one. This can be especially useful for joining complex results or performing aggregations. So here is the our select queries. So we are selecting train name and bookings, okay, from trains table. Now we are joining, okay. So we are joining trains table with the bookings table having the same ID, but here inside the join, right, this table we have the bookings table we have created new. Like how we are creating? We are creating train ID count of all as total booking. So if you can see, like let's suppose we have a booking table here. So if you don't want to, join the trains table and booking table as it is, so you can even manipulate the booking table by the subquery. So by the subquery, let's suppose in the booking table, you were having some columns, but now as you want only train ID, so you want train ID, so booking table will have train ID column and count of all as total bookings. So count of all, and you want to give the name as total bookings. So these will be the two columns for the new booking table. Now, from bookings, you want to select a group by train ID. So let's take the example from booking table. So group by train ID. So 101 is 2 times. So count will be 2. 101 train ID count will be 2 and 103 train ID count will be 1. So this is the new booking ID you have generated by this from this booking table. Okay. So you have generated this new one. So now you can apply what? You can apply join operation with train table and with this new booking table. So how you can do? You are selecting train name and total bookings, okay, from trains on train ID and booking ID same. So train ID and booking ID if you will match, then 101 matches, yes, and 103 matches, yes. So train name for 101 Rajdhani, yes, and train name for 103 is Duranto, and total bookings count 2 and 1. So this is the final output. So that's what in the from clause. So from clause, after from what you write, like if let's suppose for join, right? So this will give you the temporary table. So the booking table, actual table was something else, right? This was the actual table of bookings. Now instead of directly joining with the real actual bookings table, you want to join with some new formed table. So that's what it gives you, the query, a result of the query as a temporary table or the derived table. So you can derive a new table from the pre-existing table and apply joins on it. Now that's what all about it. Now next is subquery with exist and not exist. So what is exist and not exist parameter here? So exist says like if some value is already existing or not, and not exist means does not exist. So these are used in conjunction with subqueries to check whether any rows exist in the result set of the subquery or not. Okay. So basically we want to check whether that particular row is existing in the subquery or not. So let's see. Here we will write, so basically it returns true or false. So if it is true, then it will give you the result. It will show you, it will count that row into the result section, or if it is false, then it won't count. So let's see, here is a select statement for train name. So we are selecting train name from trains table, okay, where not exist. So basically we are saying not exist, so it should not exist. What? Select one from bookings where booking ID and train ID should be same. So where booking ID and train ID should be same. Yes, 101 same. Yes, but select one. What does this actually select one means? It basically says at least one value is there or not. At least one value is matching or not. So if at least one value is matching, what one value? At least means one row. For train ID, so for bookings.train ID and trains.train ID should match, right? So for 101, it's matching, yes, but it says not exist. Like, so this, let me give you the result for this. So this select one with this condition, right? So at least one row should match. So for this will give you 101 because 101 is matching with this, right? This one, 101 train ID, and 103 also matching, right? 101 and 103 matching. But now what is the condition here? Not exist. So now train's name will come here and will say not exist in this. Okay, not exist means Rajdhani, the like 101 exist or not. It already exists, right? But our task is to select all those ID which does not exist. So 101 to exist. Second is 102. Yes, it does not exist. So it will select the train name for that. So Shatabdi will be the result. Now next 103. So 103 exists or not? Yes, it exists. But our task is to select the not exist value. So 103 also will ignore. Now coming to 104. Does it exist? No, it's not there. So now we will consider this. So we will take the name of the train for value train ID 104. So Southern will be the again the one of the row in the resultant table. So that's what subqueries with exist and not exist means. And if you would have written here exist, then we would have only matching those IDs which already exist in this list, the resultant list of the subquery. Okay. Now next is subquery with in and not in operator. So in and not in. So basically if you will see the difference now, actually they both are same, but in this condition if you will see the select query, selecting train name from trains table where train ID not in this, right? And again answer here is also same. But what is the main difference between the exist and not exist and in and not in? So what is the main difference? So here let's suppose if you have the resultant 101 and 103. So from here it will always match 101 is there or 101 is there in or not. Yes, it is there. So it will basically find where it is there. Yes, it is there. Then it will consider the result. 102 is there. No, it's not there. 103 is there. Yes. So basically in operator basically checks the presence. But in this exist and not exist, it actually gives true or false results. Okay. So with the train ID 101, if you will check, this will give you 101 is already there and having the same conditions like bookings.train ID is matching with the trains.train ID. So this will give you true. So you will check like does it exist? So true, it exists. It's like that. Okay. So instead of this 101 and 103, it will give you true or false. So exist, true, or exist, not exist, false. That's how it works. But in case of in and not in, it gives you the value where every value you will compare and match if it is there or not. So this is the basic slight difference between exist, not exist and in and not in. And this question, mostly been asked in interview. So that's what I'm highlighting this point, that this is the main difference between exist, not exist and in, not in operator with the subquery. So that was all about the subqueries with different, operators, how we perform and why we write basically the subquery. That is all about the whole lecture. I hope you learned. Now let's meet in another lecture. Till then, keep learning. Take care of yourself and your family too.